Hi everyone, we're here with Julie Barber from TechyTots. She's a franchisor there. Hi Julie, thanks for coming on.
Hi, thanks for having me.
No problem, no problem. Um, just firstly, could you tell me about TechyTots as a business? What you do, what you offer your customers, who your customers are, if you like, and just a summary, really.
Yep, so we are a children's coding franchise. So we work with children from age 4 right the way through to age 11. So we work with schools and nurseries. Predominantly, we do after school clubs, school enrichment days. We also work with nurseries to do nursery sessions. So we're a brought-in session. And of course, we do our community sessions as well. So weekends and after school classes. So we've just sort of developed. So we started as Techie Tots. So we only done Key Stage 1 children, which is children up to year 2. But we're just introducing Techie Juniors. So we can go all the way up to year 6 now. So we can cater for the older children. Because all our little ones didn't want us to leave. They kept going, can we come next year? So we were like, okay, let's make the program so that you can.
Good. Oh, that's always positive, isn't it?
Yeah.
When you so effectively you're helping children um get into the world of online and building virtual things basically through coding, and you can only do that if you understand coding. They're the building blocks, right, to creating things. So am I right there?
Yeah, so we're sort of laying the fundamentals. So obviously if you're teaching a 5-year-old, they're not going to necessarily go away and build an app. Some of them could, to be fair, but we're just sort of laying them foundations so that as they go through school, they already understand the basics. So once they start getting to more complex coding, they've got that really solid foundation, and it really helps their confidence and helps them grow their skills. Because I'm sure we all know how important these digital skills are now. And there does seem to be a gap in some of the schools that we teach in, where the teachers haven't necessarily been taught the skills themselves to be able to teach on to children.
Right.
So
Okay. So Julie, treat me like a 5-year-old now, just very quickly. And I've just come to a Techie Tots class. What's the first thing you're gonna say to me, or to help me understand what I'm doing there, what this is all about? Because I've never understood anything about this.
the first thing we're going to do is ask you if you've ever heard of the word coding or the word programming. And that varies depending on the child and the parent's
Yeah.
job, obviously. And then we explain it really simply that coding or programming is giving a set of instructions to a computer or a robot to tell it what to do. And that's as simple as it is, really broken down. And it really helps them sort of grasp it. You don't need to be more complicated when you're 5.
Nice. Julie. I'm gonna use it. I've got an 8 and a 10-year-old, so they're a bit beyond that five age. But now I know how to answer that question if I'm ever asked by a child. That's a nice way of answering. It sounds really simple, but it's actually, yeah, that's exactly what it is. So
Yeah.
no, brilliant. So how did you get involved with Techie Tots, Julie? So take us back. When did Techie Tots first come into your life, as it were?
So I started with TechyTots as a franchisee in 2018. So the business itself was established in 2016. And myself and actually my sister, who runs TechyTots in Horsham, were the pilot franchisees. So we both joined sort of at the same time. We found the opportunity, sort of looked around. My girls, I've got 2 children, and at that point they were both in high school.
Yeah.
And neither of them had done anything to do with coding. So the lack was that the gap was there in the market, and it just seemed like such a good venture, and so important to give these skills. So I didn't take that long really to consider joining as a franchisee. We had a few conversations sort of within the family mainly,
Yeah.
and just thought this is definitely sort of the move for me. And at the time I was working in a creche. My youngest daughter was having mental health issues, so she wasn't attending school full time, single parent. So I was juggling all these things. So it was a real gamble going self-employed and starting a business. But I just believed in it so much, just thought it's the future. You know, it can only grow.
And so Julie, yeah, that's interesting. So you started as a franchisee. What was your, if you go back, were you looking at franchising in general, or did Techie Tots just come up as a business and then an opportunity? How did that happen? Because people
Yeah.
have lots of different ways of getting into franchising. So
I didn't really know what a franchise was, other than like your big sort of McDonald's is. I didn't really know that there was a sort of another franchising industry, if you like. And it was actually my sister that sort of stumbled across the TechyTots opportunity, and showed it to me and was like, what do you think? And so we sort of came across it that way, and just I didn't look at any other children's franchises. I didn't, probably didn't do as much research as I probably should have done. Not that I would advise people to do in the position I am now,
Yeah.
but I just knew I'd come from working in schools, working with children. I didn't come from coding, so that side of it I had to learn, but I knew I could manage a classroom and work with children. So it was a big decision, but not a massive decision, if you know what I mean. So I knew it was the right decision, so I didn't agonize over it for too long.
And did you start, did you and your sister kind of set up in a kind of a partnership to start with? Did you start the one business together, or did you actually start separately in separate areas?
We started separately in separate areas.
Okay.
So my sister lives about half an hour away from me. So we each took a franchise. And my sister still does it on a part-time basis.
Yeah.
Whereas obviously I've transitioned, but even before I was doing it as a full-time, it's always been, since I started after about a year, it was my main source of income, to support the
Was
house
that
and kids
was
and
was
everything.
that competitive, Julie, as sisters, like running the same business at the same time?
No, luckily we're quite supportive like that. We are each other's cheerleaders. So
Brilliant.
um, probably when we were younger, there was very competitive. But I think as we've grown up and mellowed a bit, it's more support than anything else.
So it's two pilots. I'm guessing you found that a huge help that you could lean on someone you absolutely trusted and loved, your sister, doing the same business. You could kind of collaborate and just talk about difficulties and overcoming problems, blah blah blah, right?
Yeah, and what worked, and how to contact the schools, what sort of community, whether a library or a church, or sort of all those sort of things. Yeah, it was great to have somebody that, and would just come to one of your events, your launch events for you, just to support you, and vice versa. So yeah, it was actually really nice to have that.
Okay, so and we were just talking before we started the recording. You're actually the franchisor now. So yeah, tell us about how that happened. You're a pilot franchisee basically of a new franchise brand. What happened after that?
So the brand grew. So we've got there was another two franchisees came on board, three I think actually, came on board, and then COVID happened, and like everybody else, we completely shut down because we're a hands-on sort of business and we couldn't do that. And during that time, the founder sort of reassessed and looked at her lifestyle and decided that she didn't want to continue as the franchisor. And it wasn't really a big decision for me. I knew that I wasn't ready to stop being part of TechyTots. I had loads of ideas, and so when it sort of came out as an opportunity to take over and buy in as the franchisor, yeah, I didn't think twice, to be fair.
And was that just you? So how did that happen then? Because there's a franchisor that's looking to exit effectively. Um, did they approach the existing franchisees as a group and say, look, is anyone interested? Because or how transparent was that whole process? And how did you? And is it just you, or were there a group of you that became the franchisor?
So she actually approached me and my sister directly, as the pilots. We were sort of given first refusal, if you like.
Yeah.
Initially, me and Sarah were going to do it as a partnership, and we were both going to do it. But Sarah's children are much younger than mine, and time-wise, she couldn't commit to it. So I just went ahead sort of on my own and decided that that's it's for me, and it's what I want to do. But yeah, I mean, and again, Sarah's completely fine with it. She's still running her franchise in Horsham. We're still sisters and get on and everything. But yeah, it was a conversation between us, and then it was decided. My children are adults now, so I've got a bit more time on my hands.
All time, yeah, exactly. So wait till they're at employment age, Julie, and then you can actually bring them in and help you out, right? So
I'm working on it.
yeah, absolutely. So when that happened, how many other franchisees were there besides the two of you as sisters and pilots? How
So
many?
there was seven in total, but we
Right.
lost two during COVID.
Okay.
As in just stopped being
Yeah.
franchisees, not as in
Yeah.
lost. Um,
Sure.
like I think a lot of franchise businesses did. So we currently have, including Sarah, we have 5 franchisees. We just recruited a new franchisee in October last year, and we're sort of looking to grow from there, really.
And how did you, because to me, that's an incredibly brave decision, or it's a decision that you take to become a franchisor where there's actually people relying on you as a franchisor. It's either really brave if you know what's involved, or it's an easy decision because you've never been a franchisor and you maybe don't know what's involved, right? Um, so I, I guess which one was it, in when you look back at it, and also, did you understand like the responsibility that you were going to have moving from being a franchisee to actually supporting other franchisees whose livelihoods to some degree and income relied on the business?
I think it was quite a lot of not understanding what a franchisor did, thinking thinking because I've been a franchisee, it would be quite transferable. I did understand the responsibility to others, because obviously I've still got my franchise area as well. So I do think that helps. It's been 2 years, coming up to 3 years, and it's been a huge learning curve. I'll be completely honest. I've learned so much. I've done so many different courses and memberships and just really upskilled myself, as much as I can so that I can support the franchisees. But I think the good part of being a franchisee first is that I know what I needed, and therefore I feel like I know what the others need. And obviously that's a two-way open communication for if anybody needs anything. But I think having had that initial sort of franchisee background, I know the support that I wanted, support that I got, and sort of anything in between, really. But yeah, I think it's a bit naive maybe to start with.
No, I think sometimes that's the best way. If someone like myself who knows franchising and knows how difficult it can be to be a franchisor, if I could have talked, I might have talked you out of it if you'd talked to me and said, "Oh, should I do this?" Because it just, so it's probably the best thing that you just went for it, and then you learn along the way. But yeah, you're right. It's a totally different. I think for anyone, for any business owners out there, especially that run an independent business, because you're effectively a franchisee running a business yourself, to then become the support system and the support structure for other people who are copying what you're doing. It's a totally different business. You do have to you learn a lot, and you have to invest in yourself to understand how to help others. And so I was going to ask you, because the fundamental thing for me in franchising is, as you grow a network, and obviously there's a network of franchisees there, the communication is absolutely key between the franchisor and the franchisees. How do you ensure that communication is really good, clear, consistent, honest, transparent, whatever other words you know are positives around communication? What kind of things have you learned, and what kind of things do you do to ensure there is that?
So I've implemented like a monthly Zoom meeting. So we meet once a month on Zoom, so we can, have a chat. Sometimes we have guest speakers in to do some training, but other times it's just a chat between sort of me and the franchise or franchisees, and I'll sort of put a topic out there and ask how everybody's doing with it. And obviously, WhatsApps and emails is our main sort of in between that communication. We do a monthly newsletter as well, but it's just being available. Somebody's struggling with something, I always want to be able to say, just pick up the phone and I'll do sort of what I can to help. Because I know how important that support is, and I know how you can panic a bit, especially at first when you first start your business. It's really scary. So I think having that person almost on tap, really, just to go, is this right? And this didn't happen, and I thought that was going to happen, and just reassure as much as anything else, I think.
Yeah, no, that's it. And in terms of growing, so that's a very small part on supporting the existing network, and there's lots more to talk about there, but the communication thing to me is really key. But finding and attracting new people that are going to come in and become a TechyTots franchisee. I've seen various people joining just on LinkedIn, and so that's good to see that growth. How are you achieving that? How are you managing that along with everything else that you're doing?
So we're trying various sort of advertising routes to get the leads in at the moment. And then once somebody comes on board, we've got the sort of the onboarding process is developing, I suppose. So with each new franchisee, we're sort of having a review of if there's anything that worked well, anything we can improve on, and just trying to make sure that that sort of package is really everything they need when they join us. And just making sure that everyone is ready to succeed. I think the leads are varied. So, we are just testing and measuring still at the moment to figure out what's the best place for us, because we're looking at people with maybe a teaching or an education background. So they wouldn't necessarily know that they're looking for a franchise. I didn't know I was looking for a franchise. So
Yeah.
it's making sure that you can be in the right place, but also educate people about what a franchise is and how it works, I think is important.
Yeah, that's good. Well, that's a good time for anyone that's listening. Then, if anyone has an interest in TechyTots to actually take on and become a franchisee potentially, where's the best starting point for them? Like, if you can say to them right now, where should they go right now?
Go to our website. And we've got a page on the website all about franchising. And from there, you can book into a discovery call. You can book a one-to-one call with myself. All the sort of information can be gained from that sort of franchising page on the website.
And
And
the
it also
site, and
gives you, sorry, go on,
the site, Julie, techytots.co.uk.
.co.uk. So, yeah,
Brilliant. So techytots.co.uk. Okay,
yeah,
perfect. And that's great. And the great thing is they'll get to speak to you, and you've been a franchisee, you've been there, you're the franchisor now, you understand exactly what it takes to make this business work. So yeah, there's no better person to talk to than you really, Julie, at this point, is there? So
yeah,
well, and other franchisees further down the line maybe, but
yeah,
but
yeah.
yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I think, personally, I think it's an advantage having done both, because I remember
Yeah.
how terrified I was with my first class, and I
Yeah.
didn't think anyone's going to turn up, and I thought I didn't know anything, and sort of all that. I can live that with you, sort of thing. I've been through that myself, so I get that fear,
Yeah.
and that it all works out all right in the end.
Yeah, no, that's it. That's yeah, that's very, very true. So as a franchise business then, and this could be your franchise business as a franchisee, or it could be now as a franchisor, which is obviously a different kind of business. Um, what would you say are the biggest challenges you faced along the way?
Um, I think as a franchisee, we're managing the growth. So looking at recruitment and getting that cycle right of when you take on staff, because obviously you're running generally after school clubs, so you can only do 5 a week as a one man, as an owner operator. So
Yeah,
it's at which point you sort of take a bit of a cut in profits and take a member of staff on so that you can grow. For me as a franchisee, that was felt like a risk to sort of take that cut and grow. I mean, saying that, we now have 5 members of staff in my franchise area, so it has grown from there. But the first one was a bit scary, and then being an employer was quite scary as well, because I'd always been employed, I'd never been the boss. I'd always so having that transfer was interesting, I think.
yeah, no, you're right. It's a big jump, and I think that yeah, there's so many different franchise opportunities out there that as an owner operator, you get to a certain stage, and then you almost have to give, in some cases, all the income away to employ someone, and then trust that you're going to be able to build it up again, and then do it again, and then do it, and then eventually it looks, obviously like yours, you've got 5, so that's great. And yeah, so okay, good. So that was one. So that was a challenge you had to overcome as a franchisee, and that's quite a big one. As a franchisor, what's been your biggest, would you say,
I think
hurdle?
I think personally, it's been learning.
Yeah,
As we said, when I sort of came on board as a franchisor, the knowledge that I've developed since then, I think that was probably one of my challenges. And luckily I've always been quite good at going, I don't know the answer, but I'll find out for you. In all my sort of previous careers, I've always been very good at being honest like that. So there was a few instances where I didn't know the answer to questions and had to go and search people out to try and help me. But I think that, and sort of learning the recruitment process, has taken a while to learn how that franchise recruitment process works as well. But again, that's back to learning, isn't it? I think it's all those sort of knowledge bases.
yeah. I think the whole thing with finding franchisees is, if you can put yourself in their shoes, and you are no, you are the best person to do that, because you were in their shoes
Yeah.
in many ways. So that's that's the key thing. Once you can do that, I think the rest just becomes about how you are as a person, and being comfortable talking to people and being open and honest. And so, you know, once you've got all of that, the rest is just a bit of process stuff. But no, sounds like you're the right person, Julie, for doing that. So that's good. Um, as a I was going to say, if you could, I guess, do one thing differently on the journey you've been through, whether as a franchisee or as a franchisor, what one thing would you do differently? Like, and you could give me two answers, one for each section of that journey, if you like, because they're very different.
Yeah. I think as a franchisee, take that leap to take on staff earlier, because it literally doubled my income, you know, as soon as I took somebody on, and I was so cautious about it.
Yeah.
So I think, you know, and I think be braver probably goes across both of them. Maybe do a little bit more research before I actually bought the franchise. But in that sense as well, I don't regret anything. So there isn't that much that I would change really. I'm
Yeah.
very sort of happy with how it's all gone.
No, that's yeah. I mean, that's really good. And I was going to ask, you obviously inherited a structure as a franchisor. How much of that structure have you since improved, added to, built on? Because there's always growth and change. How much have you been focused on that rather than just taking on what was already there and set up?
I think quite a lot. I changed quite a lot before I started sort of even putting out recruitment for new franchisees. So there was a few things, you know, sort of website, logos, booking systems, sort of all those sort of practical things that would have helped me as a franchisee, sort of went in and got changed pretty much straight away. Obviously, we discussed it as a network, but so yeah, I think just the growth as well of introducing the junior side of things. So quite a lot has changed or been improved upon. The thing I suppose at most is the operations manual, which is an ongoing improvement cycle.
Yep, it is.
It's always open on the laptop, trying to make sure that it's up to date. But yeah, I think I made quite a few changes for the better, hopefully. Yeah, everybody seems happy with them so far, so that's always good.
Yeah, that's exactly it's the feedback from the franchisees that's the most important at the end of the day. And so because in a way they're your customers like
Mm.
as well. That's how you know that's how you sometimes can view it. And so Julie, vision. Let's talk about vision, right? What's your vision as a franchisor in the UK? Like where do you see this business in 5 years, or where would you like it to be? And there's obviously a lot you don't know what's going to happen, but putting all that to one side, what are you trying to get to achieve?
I'd love for us to be, you know, the number one children's coding franchise. That's the ultimate goal. But I think just to be able to reach more children, you know, even put that to one side, just reach as many children as possible, and
Yeah,
just give them these basic skills that they'll be able to grow with throughout their sort of, you know, school career. We've got, you know, proper curriculum advisors on board now writing our curriculum, so we are in line with the national curriculum. So if we can get in front of those children, there's no reason that they can't learn and grow. So yes, in an ideal world would be number one on everything, but actually, practically, let's get as many children as we can upskilled.
yeah. Well, the one begets the other, doesn't it, Julie? So
Yeah,
you know that's a nice they go hand in hand really. And no, that's great to hear. So well, Julie, thanks so much for your time. I mean, that's been absolutely brilliant talking to you and hearing about that, because it's not often. I've talked to a few people that have been the franchisee first and then become the franchisor, but it doesn't happen that often. So it's good to hear. It's good to hear that story and how well you're doing now. And I wish you know all the luck in the world moving forward. Sometimes you need a bit of luck, but it sounds like there's a lot of hard work going on, and you're doing a lot of the right things. And so yeah, we'll keep in touch, and I'll follow your journey onwards.
brilliant. Thank you so much for having me.
No problem. All right, Julie, take care.
Take care.
Cheers, bye.